Guys, it's November, and that means it's time for my November fangirl favorites. And I'm obsessed with Thor. I know for my fangirl videos, I'm supposed to talk about a bunch of things that I saw for the month, but Thor pretty much took all my mind away from me, and I can't even think of anything else to talk about for November. So this whole video, I'm just going to do a quick little, I guess, mini review of Thor The Dark World. The first half of the video will be no spoilers, and then the second half I will have some spoilers, but I will warn you in advance when the spoilers are coming. I really loved Thor The Dark World. I thought it really just expanded upon what we had seen in Thor 1. I really thought the graphics and the visuals were much better compared to the first one, especially the look at Asgard that we saw in the first one. We didn't really get much of Asgard, but in the first one you could kind of tell that it was a digital world, and I really feel like this second movie, you couldn't really tell that it was a visual world. And I just really liked just looking at more of Asgard. It was nice to kind of see the more of the big scope and just the massiveness of it. Because in the first movie, kind of all we got was the Bifrost and the Rainbow Bridge, and then inside the palace. That was kind of it. In this one, we got to kind of be out in some courtyards and stuff, and looks like Thor and Heimdall are in some bar in another part of the movie. And then plus, besides Asgard, we got to go to some of the other realms in the universe, which was really cool. I also thought the directing from Alan Taylor was pretty good. He came from Game of Thrones, where he directed some episodes, I guess, and I really love Game of Thrones, so I was really expecting a lot out of Alan Taylor for this movie. I was probably expecting too much from him because of my love of Game of Thrones. But I do think he did pretty well. In some ways, I think Kenneth Branagh did much better with some of the directing in movie 1, especially in regards to characters and character relationships. And just the way Kenneth Branagh framed scenes I thought was very unique and kind of really pulled you into the world. And Alan Taylor, there were just some moments that I think could have been done better visually. Plus, this isn't necessarily Alan Taylor's fault because he's just the director, but I guess the editors of the movie, some of the editing was just really weird and awkward, and no transitions, just very strange transitions, and I kept thinking, I bet there's a deleted scene right here that needed to be here for transitional purposes, but they had to take it out to get the movie down to 2 hours. Whereas with Thor 1, I never had that problem with transitions between scenes. I thought Thor 1 flowed very, very perfectly and beautifully. Whereas movie 2, even though I highly enjoyed movie 2, there was still just editing choices and director choices that I was like, what is this? And then the last major thing that I really loved about the movie was obviously the characters and the actors portraying these characters. For one thing, I really love Idris Elba, and I was so glad that we got a lot more of Heimdall. We got to see more of his personality, and oh my god, Heimdall actually smiled a couple times, and every time he smiled it just made me laugh because in the first movie he was just so stoic and just stood there real serious. I also like that we got a bit more of Frigga. Is it Frigga or Frigga? I still have no idea how to pronounce that woman's name. I'm glad that we got a bit more of her. There's a part where she gets to kick some butt, which was really awesome. And you guys, one of my favorite bits in movie 1 was Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. In the first movie, I think Sif and the Warriors 3, they really developed their personalities and their characteristics, and I think you really kind of got attached to them. And even though they were only in the movie for a short bit, I really felt like I got to know them individually. So in movie 2, I was expecting a lot more of their development, and sadly, I feel like I didn't get that much more. I do think they showed a lot more of Sif, and we got to see Sif's feelings for Thor. So I do think Sif got a little bit more screen time, we got to know her a bit more, but What happened to the Warriors 3? Seriously, back in movie 1 it was Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. In The Dark World it becomes Lady Sif and the Warriors 2. For purposes I'm not going to explain because of spoilers, Hogun is kind of just the beginning of the movie, and you have to find out why for that. And then Volstagg and Fangirl, they're kind of non-existent in some ways. I don't feel like their personalities came through as good as they did in the first movie. But I still really enjoyed Volstagg and Fangirl though, because they're still some of my favorite characters along with Sif. And oh my god, Zachary Levi is Fangirl. Oh my god, he was, besides Loki, Fangirl, played by Zachary Levi this time around, since he replaced Josh Dallas from the first one. I was so excited to see Zachary Levi as Fangirl. And we barely get anything of him, and I was so upset by the end of the movie. Probably one of the biggest things I was upset about was the lack of the Warriors 3. So moving on to Thor and Loki. Oh my god, they are the best part of the movie, obviously. Their chemistry and their bickering and the humor, but well, not even the humor, just kind of the unintentional humor between them. I am a Loki fangirl. If you cannot tell, I have a Loki pop, for crying out loud. I absolutely loved every single one of Tom Hiddleston's scenes. He is Loki. And I just loved all of his interactions with all the various characters. It's like he has just the best chemistry with every single character in a movie I've ever seen. And Thor, what can I say about Thor? Chris Hemsworth is Thor. He's just a big dude. He had the wig, the clothes. When that all gets on Chris Hemsworth, he is Thor. And he is just so brilliant as that character. Plus, Thor and Loki, all the eye candy, you guys. That's what more do you need? I think I'm going to go ahead and move into the spoiler section of my review because I'm having trouble kind of thinking of things. So I think I'm done with the non-spoilery part. So from now on, spoilers. First off, the big thing I want to talk about is the fantastic cameo by Chris Evans as Captain America. When they break Loki out of his prison cell in the middle of the movie, Loki is running around talking to Thor saying, I'm gonna switch into other people so I'm not so obvious, and he switches into he switches into an Asgardian warrior at some point, and then he makes Thor into Sif, which was great. If y'all have been watching my channel, you know how much I ship Loki and Sif, but sadly it was Thor as Sif. And then Loki, he turns into Captain America, and that was freaking hilarious. Chris Evans did a fantastic job getting down Tom Hiddleston's Loki moves, and his overall mannerisms. So yeah, I think out of every Marvel movie I've ever watched, when there's a cameo, I think far and away Chris Evans, Captain America, that was the best cameo I've ever seen in a movie. It was just so brilliant and so perfectly placed in the movie. You guys, Frigga died. Frigga, whatever her name is, she freaking died. And I was like, oh no. Well, the thing is though, I think months and months before the movie even came out, I had already kind of theorized that she was gonna die anyway, because I figured there was gonna have to be some sort of catalyst for Thor and Loki to team up, and she would be the common factor between them to do such a thing. At least she got to fight Malekith for a little bit, and that was super awesome. You got to see how badass she is. I still don't understand how Asgardians can die, because think back at movie 1 when Fangirl got stabbed with the ice sickle and it went right through his body, and then he was okay. Remember, he lived through that. He's in the movie too. So then Frigga gets stabbed with a sword, and then why does she die? I don't understand just the logistics of how the Asgardians, what makes them live, what makes them die. That just made no sense to me, her dying. I haven't even talked about Jane in this entire review. I kind of keep forgetting about her. I do think the ether going into Jane was a brilliant move, and that made Jane useful. I'm not the biggest fan of Jane. I do love Natalie Portman, but Jane just kind of annoys me. In some of her scenes, it's like I found myself like, I want to go back to Asgard, go away from Jane. But at least the use of the ether going into Jane was pivotal, and it moved the plot ahead. She was useful in that way. So the big thing that happened in Thor was that Loki kind of died, you guys, but all is well. He comes back at the end of the movie, and guess what? Apparently he's maybe put Odin in the dungeons, and now Loki is king of Asgard. And poor Thor is all like, I'm gonna go back down to Earth with Jane now, and then Odin is all like, okay, bye. You guys, I want to know now, how many of you guys, when you saw the movie, as soon as that final scene started playing, how many of you guessed immediately that that was not Odin, but in fact, Loki? As soon as the scene started, I was like, that is not Odin. That is not how Anthony Hopkins moves Odin. Just the way, because you know, Odin sits a different way, he holds his mannerisms a very different way, he holds his staff in a much different way, and everything that Anthony Hopkins was doing in that scene, everything was mimicking how Tom Hiddleston does everything. So I guessed pretty much immediately, I was like, oh no, what happened to Odin? What has Loki done? And then I was super excited by the end with the big reveal that Odin is Loki, because I was like, oh right, I got something right for once. And for one thing, Odin would not have let Thor go so easily. Thor is the future king of Asgard. Why would Odin just so easily and willingly be like, bye Thor, you can go hang out with your immortal lady? So yeah, I was immediately just like, this is not Odin. But yeah, the Loki scene where he initially dies the first time, I thought that was a really intense scene, and I genuinely thought they had killed Loki. I was about to be so upset. You should have heard me in the audience. I was like, But yeah, the great thing about Loki in this movie is the idea of Loki being the master of illusion. Back in movie 1, it was kind of all more about him being a manipulator and a liar. And he is, in the Dark World, still a manipulator and a liar, but the big thing that they showcase in the Dark World is the fact that Loki is a master of illusion. And I thought that just from start to finish in the entire movie, they set that up perfectly because of all the different times he does do something regarding illusion. So awesome job to Alan Taylor directing all those scenes, and to the writers for kind of craftily putting all that together, so that by the end of the movie, everything about Loki just comes together and makes sense. And lastly, I haven't talked about Christopher Eccleston as Malekith. He was an alright villain. He wasn't particularly, like, wow to me. I did still really love him because I do really enjoy Christopher Eccleston as an actor, but I kind of think Christopher Eccleston was kind of underused in some ways, when he could have been used a heck of a lot more. And he wasn't really given much dialogue either. And I found kind of the ending scene between Malekith and Thor to be a bit anticlimactic. I don't know, I think I was just expecting just much more of a big, huge battle. I mean, it was cool when Malekith and Thor were going through all the different portals and going through all the realms. That was really awesome. But then, I don't even know what technically happened at the end. I guess Malekith got sucked through a portal and then the ship just falls on him. I don't know. It just was all very anticlimactic. And I think he could have maybe had a much more gruesome death. So that's it for my review of Thor The Dark World. I feel like I'm leaving a lot out. I didn't write any notes down. I'm kind of just winging this whole entire review. But if you guys have seen the movie, please talk about it with me, because I loved it so much. And I just love to fangirl about things. And if you agree or disagree with some of the comments I made, please let me know. I promise for my December fangirl moments, I promise that I'll have more than just a movie review. I was just so excited for Thor, and I figured Thor needed a whole review unto itself. So yeah, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.